Congratulations, United Way and Women United, on a crazy successful 25 years. Well done. So many people in our community are grateful for all of your work. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Congratulations to the United Way and United Way women on an extraordinary 25 years. And thank you so much for the critically important work you're doing every day in our communities.
Congratulations, United Way, and of course, Women's United, on an amazing 25 years. So many in our community are grateful for your efforts. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Bruner, and I want to wish United Way and Women United a hearty congratulations on 25 amazing years. What an incredible feat. So many in our community are grateful. Thank you for all you do.
Congratulations to United Way's Women United, 25 years of serving the community. Thank you so much for all that you do and the many, many families you've strengthened along the way.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susan Esper, and I co-chaired the breakfast from 2005 through 2008. On behalf of Deloitte, I'd like to wish a tremendous congratulations to Women United for 25 years of celebrating women leaders.
Hi, I'm Teresa Brockman, and I chaired the event in 2017 and 2018. Deloitte is proud to serve as the founding sponsor of the Women's United annual celebration since its inception 25 years ago.
My name is Chrissy Davis, and I co-chaired the Women's Leadership Breakfast in 2009 and 2010. Women United is known for philanthropy in our community, and we're truly inspired by all the men and women who have come together to support this great event over the last 25 years.
My name is Rebecca Chasen, and I chaired the breakfast in 2012 and 2013. We would like to thank United Way's generous sponsors for the roles that each of you play in inspiring the next generation of leaders.
My name is Brenda Campbell, and we'd also like to thank our wonderful host committee for their time, dedication, and for uniting with us to create positive, lasting change for those in need.
This is Jessica Ackerman, the leader of our current New England Women's Initiative. It was Ellen Gabriel, founder of our organization's National Initiative for the Advancement and Retention of Women in 1994, who led Deloitte's efforts to team with the United Way 25 years ago for this revolutionary breakfast.
Ellen lost her courageous battle against breast cancer in 1999, but her legacy is why all of us are here today, and especially why we'd like to dedicate this year's special anniversary in her memory.
I'm Susan Klink, and I chaired the breakfast in 2014 and 15. We thank the United Way for all that you do for women's advancement and inclusion in the local community. Happy 25 years, Women United.
Happy 25 years.
Happy 25 years.
Happy 25 years.
From your friends at Deloitte.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jane Steinmetz, 2020 Chair of the Women United 25th Anniversary Celebration and EY's Boston Office Managing Principal. I am delighted to welcome you to tonight's Cooking for a Cause, one of a series of events we are hosting to celebrate 25 years of women in philanthropy, while raising awareness and funds for United Way's COVID-19 relief and recovery efforts across the region. Together, we can help children and families impacted by the public health and economic crisis. According to Feeding America, 1 in 5 Massachusetts residents has been identified as food insecure, a rate higher than experienced during the 2008 recession. Since the start of the crisis, United Way has raised $9 million to support individuals and families in some of the hardest hit cities in our region. Working with over 170 nonprofit partners and dozens of municipal leaders on the front lines of their communities, United Way has distributed nearly all of these funds to date, providing more than 300,000 households with financial assistance to help pay for food, housing, utilities, and other basic needs. Now, we are focused on fundraising to support our annual Thanksgiving project. Because of the increased need, our goal is to provide Thanksgiving meals to 15,000 families, an increase of 4,000 over last year. One of the cities we've been working with is Chelsea, which quickly became one of the hot spots for the virus. Tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce you to Lisa Rowan-Gillis, Chief Development Officer of United Way of Mass Bay, and Jill Shah, the President of the Shah Family Foundation. Jill is leading an effort in partnership with United Way, Mass General, community organizations, in the city of Chelsea to create access to food for all residents in need due to COVID-19. Empowering our communities to rebuild as stronger and more resilient will be a long-term effort that will take all of us working together. We're so grateful for our Women United volunteers and all of the sponsors and partners who made this event possible. Lisa?
Thank you, Jane. And hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Rowan-Gillis, the Chief Development Officer at United Way of Mass Bay. And I am delighted to be kicking off our Cooking with a Cause segment with someone I admire greatly, Jill Shah from Shah Family Foundation. Jill, thank you so much for joining us on our Cooking for a Cause segment.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
You bet. You know, I'm sure you won't remember this, Jill, but I met you exactly 2 years ago when you presented your work for a team at Deloitte alongside of one of the global leaders of Oxfam.
Yeah.
The topic was around food insecurity, up close in our area and globally. So for folks who don't know you, Jill has taken a big swing at ensuring that all kids in the Boston Public Schools have access to high quality, nutritious, and fresh food. It's no exaggeration to say that her vision and work and her extraordinary team have been able to positively alter life for both the youth in BPS and for the schools. So, my first question to you is, what inspired you, Jill, to dig deep in this area?
Well, thank you, Lisa. Thanks for having me here today. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our work. You know, the foundation really focuses on helping the most vulnerable neighbors in our population resolve or help find ways to really make change in their lives and in the most simple ways, right? I mean, if you think about the most simple needs, which most of us don't need to spend time in the day thinking about, there are so many who have to think every day about how to access food, shelter, and love. And so a lot of the work that we do is in looking at ways to help people do that using either structural supports that are already in place, U.S. government supports, and other programs. And so we spent a lot of time working on school food, which is a USDA funded program. It feeds 50 million children across the country. And we've been looking at ways, as you know, to use that money more effectively to feed kids not only a certain amount of food a day, but really healthy, delicious meals every day.
That's amazing. And I've seen it up close. I know I saw your documentary that is out by, I think it's Amazon Prime, called Eat Up.
Yeah.
And really inspirational. If you haven't seen it, folks, and you're looking for something to binge watch, Eat Up is a great thing to catch up on. Really well done. You know, my next question is, why Chelsea? A lot of our gateway cities are struggling and suffering with food insecurity, and you have chosen Chelsea and have really gone deep. And you know, thankfully, we've been able to work alongside of you and with Mass General and the city. But why Chelsea?
Yeah, well, so our foundation is working across the state on food access needs, and we're also serving on the governor's food access task force. But particularly Chelsea is arguably one of the hardest hit cities in America. And as you know, it was immediately hit with everything from mass unemployment to huge amounts of the COVID rates went up very precipitously. There are many people there that live in very crowded conditions. There was massive food access needs in that city. The city has been bringing in 45,000 pounds of food a day to feed its population. So Chelsea is a great example of kind of everything that can go wrong going wrong in the course of in the course of a crisis. And so we are particularly focused here because of the deep needs there, but also because there's some extraordinary leadership in Chelsea. And so we also see this opportunity to help and at the same time gather information that can help potentially rework or rethink the ways that we support the most vulnerable folks in our country.
It's great. You say, you know, potentially there's some long-term implications. Can you tell us a little bit more about the impact of this project? I understand you're working with a researcher.
We are. So we're working on a project now that's called Chelsea Eats. And the Chelsea Eats program is set up to replace the 45,000 pounds of food coming into Chelsea every day with something that's much more efficient and effective. Our foundation really likes things that are more efficient and effective. And so we are both helping to launch this guaranteed income program, which puts dollars straight into the hands of the most vulnerable individuals in the city of Chelsea. And we're studying it. So there is a tremendous team at the Harvard Kennedy School that will be looking at all of the impacts of being an individual or a family that's receiving additional income through this program. We think, we know that this is going to be a guiding program in that the number of people who would be involved in it is more than any other guaranteed income program across the country. And so the results of it, I think, will be watched and used by policymakers broadly. And certainly mayors in other cities across the state are watching it as well. So we're very excited to be working with the Harvard Kennedy School. They originally had done a project for us to help us better understand what it is like to be an individual with food access needs at the beginning of the crisis. It's not fun, as you can imagine. And so this now helps us look at, okay, what is a potential solution to this problem look like that could have impacts, over time in terms of policy.
So that's very exciting for us, and we're thrilled to be a part of it with you. I wish we had more time. If any closing thoughts for you before I turn it over to our chefs?
Oh, absolutely. I think, as you know, we're still raising money for the Chelsea Eats program so that it can go on for as long as possible. I personally can't think of something that is a better thing to do with philanthropic resources right now. This not only puts, money into the hands of the most vulnerable in our, who are our neighbors, but it also gives us a way to study the impacts of doing, very efficient programs like this that could help guide policy over time and really shift the way that we look to support Americans and residents of America.
Thank you. Thank you, Jill, and thank you for leading the forefront, being out there, making sure that some of the most vulnerable of our citizens are actually getting what they deserve, what is their right. I believe Chelsea Eats is on our website. So United Way Mass Bay, take a look at it. So thank you. As I said, I wish we had more time together, but I know everyone is just waiting for our cooking demonstration. Just as a last thought, for those of you who would like to learn more about this, take a look at Eat Up on Amazon. So, thanks, Jill.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
It's harvest season, and so many of us are thinking ahead of Thanksgiving. As you heard, United Way is gearing up to provide nearly 60,000 individuals with food to make their own Thanksgiving dinner, which can stretch family meals for some folks for up to a week. Cooking with local seasonal ingredients is a great way to stretch your dollar and embrace the season. Here to teach us how to do just that are two amazing local chefs. Chef Xyomie Padilla has always had a passion and curiosity for food, wine, and travel. She is a graduate of the Cambridge School of Culinary Arts and the Elizabeth Bishop Wine Resource Center at Boston University. Xyomie honed her skills in the kitchen as the owner and executive chef of the Main Ingredient Catering and executive sous chef at Capers Catering in Stone, where he contributed in the publication of Sassy Sips and Nibbles, I love that, a book of trendy cocktails and accompanying snacks. Most recently, you could find her as the director of catering sales at David's Catering and Events in Woburn, Mass. Xyomie brings great passion to every menu she creates for her clients, with her ability to think outside the box in integrating culinary influences and flavors of the world. Joining Xyomie tonight. Hi, Xyomie.
How are you?
Good. Glad to have you.
We are so happy to be here.
Good. Joining Xyomie is Chef Maria Nardella. Maria is a personal chef and co-owner of Sparkling Soirees. She's also a health and wellness lifestyle coach and healthy living advocate who works with busy women, their families, and communities to improve their lives through healthy eating and lifestyle changes. From owning her own business to running large-scale kitchens and planning events as a chef and manager, Maria has always worked with the best, healthiest ingredients, simply prepared and presented. It is her mission to share great food, healthy tips, and recipes with others so they too may take control of their health and wellness while harnessing the health and healing one's kitchen has to offer. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to be here.
I'll turn it over to you now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you'll enjoy our cooking demonstrations. We've got a couple of delicious meals to make here for you. We also want to thank the United Way for having us, Maria.
Yes, and welcoming us. What an amazing, amazing program that the Shah Foundation just outlined. And it's just incredible the work the United Way is doing to reach so many people who struggle to just have food on their tables every day. And we really were thoughtful about the meals that we prepared tonight. We wanted to use local ingredients that were readily available to people, as well as would not break the pocketbook. So really for anyone, but they're delicious and they really come from our tables to yours. These are dishes that Xyomie and I both serve for our families at Thanksgiving time. So we're really excited to do them. Xyomie's gonna do the first one, and I'm so excited for her to prepare this for you.
So the first dish is I call it cheesy grits. It's a little bit outside of the box, but it incorporates corn, I use a polenta, which is a pastine polenta, chicken stock or vegetable stock, some cheddar cheese, and we like to add a little bit of spiciness and smokiness to the polenta with the cheddar cheese. It gives it a really wonderful flavor. So I've got here about 2 cups of, a cup and a half of the chicken stock that it's already warm. You want to bring it up to a boil and then bring it down to a simmer So it's nice and hot. The polenta will cook quickly.
So, Xyomie, when you're doing this, if people didn't like the slight spiciness of the chipotle, could they use something else?
You can leave the adobo from the chipotle out. You can not add anything. If you wanted to add some olives or some sun-dried tomatoes, that will give it a really wonderful flavor too. So I'm going to add the chipotle and the adobo sauce in there and kind of mix it in, let it blend in with the stock. And I'm going to add a little bit of the polenta at a time so that it doesn't thicken up all at once. And
smells so good.
And as I'm adding it, I'm using a whisk so that it doesn't get clumpy on me and make it difficult to kind of find the little lumps in the polenta. And again, I've got my heat set at medium. So again, everybody's stove is different. You can control it, but you don't want it to be boiling so that the polenta starts to stick to the bottom of the pan and burn. So my polenta is starting to really thicken up. So I'm just going to keep adding a little bit to it. I've also reserved about a cup of of my chicken stock so that I can continue adding some stock and loosening up the polenta as I go along. So I have my chicken stock here, and I'm going to add a little bit more, and that'll make it nice and loose, and gives time for the polenta to cook. If you run out of stock, don't panic. You could always add a little bit of water while you're trying to cook the polenta. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit more.
The polenta really absorbs the liquid so quickly.
And it does, and also increases the volume, which is really, a perfect ingredient to make your cheesy grits. So I'm gonna, now that my polenta is a little bit on the thicker side, I'm gonna switch over and use my wooden spoon, make it easier. You can see it's kind of nice and thick, and I'm gonna add a little bit more stock. And by adding the rest of this, I know that when I get it to the consistency that I want, I know that the polenta is gonna be ready to go onto my baking pan. So as I stir, you can also use a different cheese. I use cheddar because if you have any leftovers, you can always save it for breakfast in the morning. You can fry an egg and serve it on top, and you'll have a delicious breakfast. So my polenta is just about there. I'm going to start to add some cheese. I'm going to add it a little bit of the time so that it gives the cheese opportunity to melt evenly. And at this point, I'm going to lower the heat on my stove to very low so that it incorporates nicely and it smells delicious. Really the smokiness of the chipotle really adds a really nice aroma to the polenta. And of course, you can see how much cheese I've added. This is
really cheesy. I love it.
So we're just about there. I'm going to get ready to pour this. Marie, if you want to give me a hand.
Sure. What can I help you with?
I'm going to give you another one, and then if you can just take it over.
Yeah. Here, if we put it this way, people can see how gorgeous it is.
Exactly. Actually, then we'll do this.
Yeah. This is amazing, Xyomie. It looks so delicious.
And I've coated my pan, my baking dish with cooking spray so that it doesn't stick.
And it's got that gorgeous golden color from the chipotle. So it's almost a yellow cornmeal turned almost like a light orangey color. So do I spread it around?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'm just going to pick up a little more cheese.
Okay. There you
I'm just going to add a little bit more cheese. And at the end, take your cheese and just sprinkle it on top for some more deliciousness. And this is going to be wonderful because it'll melt while you bake it. And then you're going to run it over the broiler for about 5-10 minutes. It'll get nice and brown, delicious, and beautiful. So I'm going to just put this in the oven.
Xyomie, that could be a meal all by itself.
Absolutely.
Really. Go ahead. Here. Look at, we have a magic oven.
Our magic oven.
Our magic oven has her polenta all ready to go.
And this is what it's going to look like. It's really beautiful. The top is got some beautiful brown from the broiling part, and it just looks delicious. And you'll see a little later when we platter it, you'll see how beautiful it is and how delicious it will be. So that is our first surprise for you. Maria will have another dish with acorns and delicata squash. So Maria?
Excellent. So Xyomie, I think it's so funny. We navigate so well in the kitchen together because we've worked together for about 25 years on and off. And
at least. At least. We finish each other's sentences now.
And we're used to working in incredibly tight quarters as caterers and in just the craziest of conditions. So I like how we just seamlessly slide amongst each other. So the next dish that we're going to prepare is a stuffed acorn squash or a stuffed butternut squash that's stuffed with quinoa. Quinoa is just a wonderful superfood, and it's actually a seed, and it just has a ton of protein. It's very healthy. If you didn't like quinoa, you could use brown rice. So there's other ways that you could substitute. If you didn't like the brown rice, you could use even white rice, or we were talking before saying wild rice would be so great as well. So the biggest thing about using a grain like a whole grain brown rice or the quinoa is to soak it first for 20 minutes. So time didn't allow for us to do that. So imagine that I soaked it, I drained it, and then I'm going to cook it on the stove. So into this, I am going to add, so I've got the cooked quinoa. And I should back up a second because I'm kind of excited and I got ahead of myself. So once you drain it, you're going to cook it 1 cup of quinoa to 2 cups of water. You could use a vegetable stock or a chicken stock if you'd like. That would just add like a little richness to the flavor. So once it cooks, or as you're cooking it, you're going to add a little bit of red onion. You're going to add some garlic. You're going to also add some sage and some salt and pepper. We sort of season everything as we go. So here's the sage, and I'm just going to crumble that up a little bit and add some crumbled sage in there. And I've already pre-cooked this, so I'm just sort of doing some of this for you guys at home so you can follow along, and it makes a lot more sense. And Xyomie has some beautiful salts here. So then that cooks for 20 minutes with a lid on. And then when the lid comes off and the quinoa is cooked, you're just gonna fluff it up nicely. And into this, you will then add some dried cranberries and some toasted pecans. And this is our filling. So we're gonna just get this made, and then we'll move on to the delicata squash and the acorn squash. And I also like to add some chickpeas, garbanzo beans. Everybody kind of has a different name. And you can drain them, or you can just kind of spoon them out of the liquid, because if your quinoa seemed a little dry, maybe you left it on the stove too long, or maybe that quinoa just really needed a little extra liquid, you can always add some liquid from the leftover, the liquid in the can is what I'm trying to say. So then you just stir all this around, and it looks and it smells so good. I don't know if you guys can see that. So then your stuffing is ready. And so we're gonna just put this off to the side for a second so we can then get our butternut squash ready. And you can really, these recipes, Xyomie's recipe and this recipe, can be done the day before. So when you think of Thanksgiving, sometimes you're just so harried, or maybe you like to go out for a walk or a hike in the morning. It's nice to have things that are ready the day before, and then you just have to pop them in the oven, and then you look like a hero that you slaved over the stove all day, but you really didn't. So I have an acorn squash here, and then I have a delicata squash as well. And you can use either of these. It's really a personal preference. I love the delicata squash because the skin is so soft that once it cooks, you can actually eat the skin. And the acorn squash is a little bit more hardy, and it actually looks a little bit more like a bowl that you have. So to cut the squash, a lot of people get a little intimidated because the outside of this one can be a little hard. You're just going to cut it in between like one of the bumps here, and you're going to really give your knife a nice push in, and then kind of just follow it all the way around. And it is a little hard. You can hear it cracking. And then use your hand. So then you just scoop out the seeds. And I'm going to just put these into my bowl here. I don't know about everybody else. I usually have a bowl on my counter where all of my drippings go in, like my seeds and vegetable peels,
from your herbs.
Yeah, just so I'm not kind of going so crazy, I just so much easier to just have that bowl. So then there you have your beautiful little squashes. Now they don't like to sit flat, so there's a little rounded part in the back. You're just gonna take a little nubby off, and then it'll sit nice and flat for you. So that's it. And I think there's so many other uses for the squashes, but these are two of my favorites. And then where's that delicata? It's right in front of me. So then the delicata squash is much, much simpler. And it cuts way easier. And this is also a really cute little boat that you end up with. And the nice thing about the delicata squash is it's an heirloom squash from New England. So it's something that I can imagine the Pilgrims probably had way back when they were celebrating their harvest.
The delicata squash is our favorite here at home. We just love it.
Yeah. And you don't need to do a lot to the squash. I mean, you could just roast either one of these squashes as a side, and they would be delicious. And we actually started making this dish for our vegan and vegetarian friends who would come over on Thanksgiving and didn't want to have turkey for obvious, right? So I started making this, but everyone really liked it. So we started making more of it so everyone could have a little extras. How about you, Xyomie? What made you guys start making your dish?
We have friends that are gluten-free that so we wanted to do something different, and again, thinking outside of the box. That is olive oil. And so we thought of doing the cheesy grits as a substitute for bread, actually.
Oh, nice.
And we had about 6 people over for Thanksgiving. This was about 3 years ago. And it was such a hit that every year, everybody requests, are you making the cheesy grits? We're not coming if the cheesy grits aren't on the table. So
pressure.
It's a wonderful thing. It has become our go-to and a staple, a tradition. It's become the new tradition
so awesome.
at our Thanksgiving table.
All right. So what I've done here is put a little olive oil and just a tiny bit of maple syrup. And then I'm just going to season these lightly with a little salt and pepper again. And then these are going to go in the oven, and they will roast for about 30 to 35 minutes at 375. Now, every oven is different. And I think right after being in so many homes catering, we can attest it may take shorter, it may take longer. So don't just set it for 35 and walk away. You have to just check on it because you never know. So this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. And then you will just fill them with your stuffing here. And then they're going to go back in the oven for just about 20 minutes or so to get nice and warm. And I think, like Xyomie, this to me is a delicious breakfast item as well. If you have leftovers, you could just warm one up and have it. And so what about that chipotle in adobo? Could we make a sauce with that? Like for these, what do you think?
We can, you can take the adobo, which is the sauce from the chipotle. We can make an aioli and drizzle a little bit of aioli. You take a little bit of, mayonnaise, add the chipotle, peppers. You can chop a little bit. They're not really spicy. But again, taste, because tasting is how you determine how much heat you want or you don't want. Add a little bit of lemon juice, just to add a little bit of acid into the mayonnaise, and then salt, pepper. Taste it, and I think you've got yourself a great, a great little surprise to that.
Yeah, that sounds great. So these are going to go into the oven, and then they'll come right out. And we have our magic oven still here. Let's see. So yes. Ooh. All right. So then they're going to come out, and they are going to look like this. So yummy. And you could do the chipotle aioli that we were talking about over them. If you do dairy, because this is a vegan dish, so you could add dairy if you're not vegan. Like a nice ricotta salata, a nice kind of salty cheese would be good. Even some of your cheddar, I think, would be delicious.
You could even, if you wanted to keep it vegan, you can garnish the top. I think you chop some little chives.
Just a little chive, yeah.
And sprinkle it on top, and they just look really beautiful.
See, when I grabbed the olive oil, I was thinking about how you love olive oil in all of your travels through Italy, and just the stories that you tell me about all of the wonderful olive oils you had and the tastings and things.
We're so lucky. We have friends in Italy, and they take us to many different vineyards. And if there are grapes, there are olive trees. And we spend afternoons sitting at the table, and we just try different wines, mostly in the Chianti region. So we're drinking lots of Sangiovese and lots of local cured meats and breads and olive oil, to the point where we now exclusively only use olive oil from our friends' vineyards in Greve de Chianti. And every season we get about 30 liters shipped to us. We give it out as gifts when we go to friends' house for dinner. We usually, as a little thank you, we bring them a liter if you want to show them in these bottles.
It's gorgeous.
We have some friends that now tell us when we're ordering olive oil, include them because they want in. So here we have started another tradition of ordering olive oil.
I love it.
And we just ordered our 30 liters, which are 6 cans. They're starting to pick in 2 weeks. The olives will be ready. They'll pick in 2 weeks. They'll go to the Frantoio, which is where the press is. And hopefully by Christmas we'll have olio nuovo, which is the new olive oil for the holidays.
I love that. That's another wonderful tradition. I love it. So that is our second dish, and Thanksgiving wouldn't be complete without a dessert for sure.
Absolutely.
So I think we're going to make a crisp. I think that's kind of hot, so I'm not going to pass that off. We'll put it right there for a second. And I think, can you help me make the pear crisp? I'm going to get the butter.
I have it right here.
Oh, you already got it out. See, it's like she finishes my sentences. She gets my food. If we weren't already married to different people. So we're going to do our pear crisp. I love pears. If you don't like pears, simply substitute apples. If you don't like apples, substitute something else. Peaches work really great. I think we were talking about maybe some plums would work awesome.
You can mix fruits. You could do
Yes.
pears and apples. If you find that you're short, or pears and plums, be creative. There are no mistakes.
No, and it's really, this recipe is very basic and any fruit will really work. So it does really work well for the seasonality. If you all of a sudden you can't find something, just use what's in season, right? And then just use all the same ingredients.
Exactly.
And this is pear and ginger. And we were talking about not everyone loves ginger, but I love ginger in a dessert because it really kind of settles the stomach. And I just love ginger. So we were saying that you could use regular ginger, which is just the root where you peel it and then you chop it, or you could also use a little candied ginger. And are you going to show them how to peel the ginger?
Yeah. So I have a tiny spoon. And if you take a small spoon, you could barely see it, but it's a small one. And all you have to do is kind of scrape it, and the skin will just peel right off. No need to use a knife and cut yourself, but that's basically all you have to do. And,
and then you can cut it and chop it, which is so awesome. And it's funny, right? Chefs, a lot of times in the kitchen, it gets so hot in the kitchen that we'll make a water with some cut up ginger, some mint, and some cucumber and lemon, and drink that. And now today I see it all over Pinterest as detox water.
So we were detoxing while we were in 110-degree kitchens.
Okay, so do you
What
want
would
to
you
get
like me
started
to
on
do?
the streusel? That would be so great.
Okay,
So
let me
there
take my
is
ring off.
some oatmeal, and to the oatmeal, we're going to add a little pink Himalayan sea salt, some ground cinnamon, and some ground ginger. And then you mix that up, and it really doesn't get any simpler than this.
And this is brown sugar?
That's brown sugar. And again, if you didn't have brown sugar, you could use regular sugar, but you could also make your own brown sugar by just taking a half a cup of regular white sugar and adding a tablespoon of molasses. And then you really have that brown sugar taste.
I know you probably have a more intensified flavor with
You
the molasses.
do with the
right?
molasses.
Yeah.
And then, for a lot of people who are cutting back on sugar, etc., they may choose to just switch and use all maple syrup. So you could easily make that substitution too.
And is this for me?
That's for you.
Okay, so I'm going to get started.
All right. And we're just going to keep mashing that until it gets nice and crumbly. I love a crisp because it's so easy and very just sweet and satisfying. It's crunchy.
And we want to keep the butter somewhat cold.
Yes.
We don't want the butter to be warm because it really does affect the crust that you're making.
It does. It'll get very flat if the butter was too warm. Whereas when it's cold, it blends in easier and it really does make a nice crumble. So to your pears, I've already added a little orange juice so that the pears didn't turn brown or anything. And then I'm going to add the ginger and cinnamon and orange zest. And I always add just a tiny, tiny bit of salt. And salt just really helps to balance out the flavors of things. And sometimes it can curb and also bring out sweetness, right? So it sort of acts in both those ways.
I think I got the hard part here.
No, not at all. Not at all. So you toss this all around. I had to cut all the pears. What are you talking about?
That's true.
So we hope that you guys, when you cook, get your family involved and your friends involved, so that you're not the only one in the kitchen and you can have fun. The holidays, especially this year, we're thinking that gatherings are going to be so much smaller due to the COVID that all these recipes, you don't need to double them, and they'll hold. You can do them the day before, so you can really just enjoy the people that you get to be with. And then if you did a Zoom like Thanksgiving, you could show everything off.
Absolutely. And going back to what you were saying is to get your friends involved in the kitchen is that when the meal is all ready and everybody's getting ready to eat, everybody contributed to the making of this meal, and it's a really good feeling. I know that when we have friends over and and I see everybody eating and enjoying it, it really gives me a really nice feeling. And it's nice to share it with others.
Simi, I forgot to mention that I add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to my pears, and then that makes them stay together a little bit more.
Okay, how's this?
That looks awesome.
Perfect.
So here we go. We're just about together here for our pears. Yeah, and there's something I think about everyone eating the same foods and sharing in the preparation that it just feels like community, right? We feel so connected to each other. If you were going to go somewhere, you could always, bake your crisp in something. See, we have this gorgeous pan here in the house, and then it has a lid, so it just doesn't make travel any easier. And then your host or hostess, wherever you're going, can heat it up for you, or it's all ready to go for you. So then you can just sprinkle that over the top, and then it's going back in the magic oven. I really wish that we did have a magic oven somewhere.
So I'm spreading this evenly around, trying to, since there's a lot of butter here, coated all around the pear mixture.
I could just smell the ginger.
That smells delicious.
So good.
Look at that. Okay.
All right. And so that's going to go into the oven, and it will go in to a 375 degree oven for about 45 minutes to 55 minutes. And you really want to, every oven is different. We keep saying that because I think sometimes cooks feel like a recipe didn't work because it doesn't cook in the same amount of time, or something just doesn't, the oven doesn't feel as warm. But every oven is different. So give it a little bit more time, adjust the temperature, be kind to yourself. So when you pull it out, it's going to look like this. And along the edges, you're going to see that the juices bubbled and turned like a clear liquid color. And that's how you know that that's done. And again, this would make a delicious breakfast if you had leftovers. But for your special holiday, you could serve it with some whipped cream or some vanilla ice cream. And if you were dairy-free, we used butter, but you could use a non-dairy butter and then do some whipped cream. You whip the coconut milk to make a whipped cream. So you have a lot of options with all of these. And Xyomie is going to show us how, when we platter everything, so you can really get a look at the food. And we really hope that your Thanksgivings are wonderful and filled with lots of love and people that you care about, and that it's just a great experience this year. 2020 has been really, I think, challenging for so many people, and to bring them together with food and culture and stories and heritage is just so nice.
So I'm slicing the polenta, our cheesy grits, and I'm going to get 9 pieces from here out of the dish.
I want to pull a Paula Deen and just like scoop it. Just eat it. It looks so good.
And here we go. This is
that's
really beautiful. It should be creamy inside. So, don't worry if they're a little bit loose. That's what you want. You don't want it to be dry. This is a really good sign. It's creamy. The cheese worked. It's got a nice crust because I put it under the broiler for about 5-10 minutes. I almost forgot about it, actually. But that's exactly what you're looking for. And so I'm going to put 5 pieces here so that Maria then she'll have some space to put her acorn squash.
And again, these don't need a sauce, but if you wanted to make any kind of sauce that Xyomie and I were talking about, you certainly could. And, you know, a turkey and a salad or not even a turkey, if it's just a couple people, right? Just even,
Absolutely.
there we go. There we go.
Gorgeous.
And there you have it. And then you have your pear crisp.
And you want to use some herbs so we can
yes.
decorate the platter. Herbs are wonderful little decors. We put them sometimes, we wrap napkins with some fresh herbs on your platter. It just gives you a little balance of color to pop out. It makes your dish.
And just
gives
makes
it a
the
little pop.
platter so sweet. And you have a little mint here. And you could just put a little bit on the top of your cobbler or crisp, and there you have it.
And there you go. Here's your Thanksgiving dinner.
Awesome. We hope you guys have enjoyed this. We hope we've inspired you to get into the kitchen and cook with just some simple ingredients and make your Thanksgiving wonderful and blessed.
Have a great, great evening. And I think you'll find some of the ingredients on the United Way site.
Yes, we gave them the recipes, so they should be sending them to you. And then they'll be up on our website as well tomorrow. So
wonderful.
great.
Thank you for having us. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you, United Way. Good luck with all of your events. And thank you so much for celebrating women. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, Xyomie and Maria. Yeah, this is the part of the fun of being home. You are amazing chefs, and I'm a huge fan of a crumble, and my daughter is vegan. It's like you've got something for everybody. Beautiful, beautiful work. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Lisa, so much.
So grateful for you joining us. So please do make note to join us next Tuesday at noon when we host a community conversation with John Hancock CEO, Marianne Harrison, called Leadership in Crisis. Marianne is a much sought after and inspirational speaker, and the discussion should prove to be fascinating and relevant for many of us who are working during these crazy times. Additionally, please join us for our Purses for a Purpose silent auction. Bidding has started and the purses are amazing. I can attest to that. If you would like to learn more about Women United or the Thanksgiving Project, please be on the lookout for an email in your inbox tomorrow. And please, if you've been inspired, donate now, donate tonight. We plan on feeding 15,000 families in November. Families who are struggling, who do not have as much as many of us have. Any amount works. Just click on the Donate Now page, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, everybody.